The VZ-55, as of update 10.0, is the latest tech tree added into the game. It was literally introduced just a week ago. It's a pretty cool vehicle. There's not much special about it. I mean, it's got a decent mechanic, combat stabilization, which allows it to shoot opponents if you're going below 15 quite accurately, but apart from that, its mobility is pretty average, the gun itself is pretty lackluster, and the armor is pretty mediocre. There's not much special about the tank, and because of that, already after about the fourth day of release, the tank has completely gone away in popularity. So a lot of people have been asking and speculating what the next line, specifically tech tree line, is going to be added into the game. And you don't need to speculate, I already have the answers for you. It's going to be the Polish mediums, specifically the tier 10, being the CS63. We can actually see the vehicle in front of you here. This is a full 3D render of the tank. It's not the most amazing looking vehicle. It honestly is very similar to the TVP frontally looking wise, but you can obviously tell this is a Polish tank. It honestly looks similar design to the 60TP. The side armor looks similar, the front design is very similar as well, but that's not bad. I don't think this is an ugly vehicle. The TVP is an ugly tank. That's my opinion, but I think it's pretty ugly. It's just a box with a round turret. This is not nearly as boxy. It has some angles, it's got some designs going for it. I actually think the tank looks decently nice. So that's the first thing that's pretty nice. We could also take a look at the armor on this vehicle, and it's not great. I mean, the lower plate's only 120. That's awful. That means essentially any vehicle that shoots Hesh, the Chieftain Mark 6, FE2 and 5E183, and FE4 202 are going to be able to rip right through this vehicle's lower plate. The turret armor as well is awful. Again, the 183 is going to eat this thing up for breakfast. It's only got 120 millimeters of turret armor at certain angles, and even if you go further out, it only goes up to like 140. I mean, yeah, when you're using gun depression, it might get a troll bounce here or there if the shell strays too far, but let's be real, this thing is not going to be armored. It's not going to be known for having armor. When we take a look at the sides, yeah, 55, it does have spaced armor, so we can see with high explosive, it's going to be quite hard to actually get it through. It's only 33% chance of cutting through that spaced armor. We can see a good example here. This is the hull. This is all spaced. So yeah, it's going to be quite a hard tank to actually penetrate with high explosive. The rear, yeah, that's not going to be hard. It's absolutely awful. But overall, it's not a tank that's going to be having a lot of armor. It's going to have some HE resistance, but apart from that, not all too much going for it. But yeah, the armor is going to be troll. I mean, we can see the upper plate is an auto ricochet. It's super steep, just like the 60 TP. So it's got some things going for it. 8 degrees of gun depression is obviously very nice. And actually, if you're only showing the top part of your tank, you actually can get a lot of bounces on the roof, even though it does have that hatch. Overall, not the worst armor ever. It's not nearly as bad, for example, as a vehicle like the Leopard 1. It does have spaced armor all over the sides, and it also has a pretty troll upper plate. So I think it'll be okay. It will get bounces occasionally, but apart from that, you're not going to be getting all too many bounces. The main thing that you probably want to know when it comes to this vehicle is the statistics, which is exactly what we're going to be going over here. Now, I don't have the stats of the vehicle in Blitz, but we're going to be able to take a look at the baseline stats from PC, and I'll let you know what I think the vehicle's going to be like when it does get released into Blitz. So, on a PC, the vehicle has about 3,000 damage per minute if you're running it with food and Brothers in Arms, which is basically a standard loadout for any vehicle. So what we're looking at here is pretty stock standard. It's got 390 average damage, which for Blitz terms is about 350. So this is going to be your standard 105 millimeter gun, which we can actually see here. So it should have about 350 damage per shot in Blitz. The DPM is also pretty average for a medium tank. So in Blitz, again, we can expect something pretty similar to maybe the STB1, maybe a little bit more. So probably about 3,200 to 3,300 DPM when fully equipped. I can't imagine it's anything more than that, but I guess we'll have to find out. Dispersion, pretty average. Overall, the gun itself is pretty average, although on-movement dispersion is very, very good. So we'll have to see how the actual gun ends up being in Blitz, but I would expect it to be similar to a Patton gun. That's really the best way I would think that the gun would be, is very similar to an M48 Patton on terms of accuracy, on terms of DPM, all of those good things going there. Now, it fires AP and APCR, so it'll be interesting to see what Wargaming does with this vehicle in Blitz. I think it will shoot APCR as a premium round, but It wouldn't surprise me if they also had it shooting heat shells, so I guess we'll have to see. I would expect if it does shoot APCR to have 326mm of premium pen if you're running calibrated, same as the Caro, but again, we'll find out. The interesting part about this vehicle is when you put on this little mechanic here, which is siege mode, they like to call it. I like to call it super speed mode. So normally the tank goes at a top speed of 55 and a reverse of 15, which is pretty average for a medium, but it has a special mechanic. And when you use super duper speed mode, it allows your tank to go 70 and 20 in reverse. It increases the tank's engine power from 740 to 1150, giving it an insane power to weight of 28.5. So the vehicle goes from being quite average to absolutely bonkers on mobility. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if the tank had a mechanic like this in Blitz. Wargaming has already been experimenting with a lot of different special mechanics. We have combat stabilization. The Minnow has the lame-ass reserve shell for some reason. But overall, there are some special mechanics, like the WZ-132-1 does have the spotting mechanic, and same for the T100 LT. So it would not surprise me to see this vehicle coming in with a super speed or some sort of special mechanic, as that seems to be the new sort of norm when it comes to Blitz. So overall, not bad at all. If that's what it would be, I'm actually stoked for that. I think it would be absolutely epic. The vehicle does, as I say, feature good gun depression, 8 degrees, and overall, that's really all there is to say about the tank. I mean, I think it'll be good. I don't know how Wargaming's going to balance it. If you want my opinion, as I said, I think the tank should have a gun very similar to the M48 Patton. So about 3,300 DPM base, and then if you're running rammer up to like 3,500, I think that's about fair for a vehicle that has this poor armor, as we did showcase. And personally, I think that having the super speed mechanic brought from PC to Blitz would be a super cool mechanic. We don't have any tanks in the game that currently feature a ability like this. It would be very simple to work as well. All they need to do is add, like in boss mode, for example, when we have that little extra slot at the bottom, which you can tap, it's like your 7th ability. And on Blitz, I have it set to my my mouse button here, on my side mouse button there, external mouse too. So all Wargaming would have to do is add an additional button that you can tap, just like, for example, the Titan 54D has, where in consumables you have a special mechanic called Dynamic Armor System. This is absolutely unique to this vehicle. All Wargaming would have to do is add a special ability like this to the vehicle, add an additional slot when it comes to your consumables, and then have that a toggleable thing that maybe has a bit of a cooldown in between use, maybe 20 seconds or something like that. But once you activate it, it's super speed boost, and it's a permanent one until you unactivate it. I personally think that would be a super cool mechanic. I would be 100% down if Wargaming did something like that. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys want the vehicle to be like. At the end of the day, it's Wargaming, and they're either going to make the tank really fun and super engaging, or they're going to make it boring or maybe overpowered. When it comes to Wargaming, though, usually new tank releases are pretty dang solid. I mean, even though the VZ55 isn't the most exciting tank, it is still a very good vehicle. Same for a lot of the other tanks, although we have had the WZ-132 released, and that thing's a pile of crap if you want my honest opinion. It's not awful, it's just, it's not good. It's not a tank I would ever suggest anybody to play. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you'd like to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below. And at the end of the day, I guess we'll just have to see what Wargaming does. Bye-bye.